I sat at the kitchen table with cold coffee in my hands. The house was quiet. The morning light came through the thin white curtains and made small squares on the floor. Outside I could hear a kid riding a bike and a dog barking far away. Inside I felt heavy. I looked at my wedding ring and turned it slowly. My name is Emily. I am 32 years old. I live in a small suburb near Columbus, Ohio. On our street people wave when they drive by. They hang flags on the porch and water their flowers in the evening. It all looks safe. It all looks good. I took a deep breath and tried to smile. That is what I do most days. I wake up, make breakfast, water the little plant by the sink, and try to be the woman I said I would be. My husband, Mark, leaves early for work. He kisses my forehead and says, "See you tonight." I say, "Drive safe." These are kind words. They are true words. But inside me something is missing and I do not know how to fix it. The fridge hummed. A fly tapped the window and then rested. I stared at a small chip in the table edge and thought about the day he proposed. It was in a park with trees turning red. He had a shy smile and hands that shook a little. People clapped. I said yes. Everyone said we looked perfect together. I wanted to believe them. I told myself love can grow like plants. You water it, you feed it, you give it time. It will come. Years have passed. I still wait. It is hard to say this out loud. I am not a bad person and he is not a bad man. He is gentle. He tries. He brings me coffee on Sundays and folds laundry when I forget. We have a clean house, a good car, a calm street. But when I look at him, my heart is quiet. It does not rise. It does not run. It just sits there still like a lake with no wind. I pressed my palm to my chest and felt the slow beat. I thought of the girl I used to be, the one who laughed too loud and wrote poems in the margin of her notebooks. Where did she go? Maybe I left her somewhere. Maybe I left her on that day in the park when I smiled for the camera and told myself that safety is the same as love. A tear fell on my ring. I wiped it with my thumb. Last night I almost packed a bag. I almost left. I stood at the closet with my hands shaking. But then he called my name from the hallway and asked me something that broke the quiet inside me like glass. That morning I made pancakes. Mark loves them with blueberries. I stood by the stove, flipping each one carefully while he read the news on his phone. The kitchen smelled sweet and the sunlight warmed the counter. It was the kind of morning people post on social media. Peaceful, happy, normal. If someone had walked in, they would have thought this is a perfect marriage. We sat together, eating in silence except for the sound of forks on plates. He smiled at me once, the kind of small smile that says I'm glad you're here. I smiled back because it's what I do. But inside, the smile felt like a mask I had worn too long. My face knew the shape but my heart didn't. After breakfast he left his cup in the sink and kissed my temple. "Don't work too hard today," he said. I nodded. My days are quiet. I water the plants. I check emails. I walk around the block. Sometimes I bake. In the evenings we watch TV, crime dramas or cooking shows. He laughs at the funny parts. I laugh too, but my laugh feels hollow like it's made of air. Our home is clean, warm, and full of small, gentle gestures. He brings me flowers when he stops at the store. He rubs my shoulders when I'm tired. On Saturdays we go to the farmer's market. We have polite conversations about which bread to buy or if we should get more peaches. It is a safe life. But safety, I am learning, can also be a cage. The walls of this house are soft beige. The couch is a deep blue. The bedroom smells faintly of lavender from the candle on the dresser. Everything here is pleasant, even beautiful in a quiet way. But I have learned that beauty doesn't always mean freedom. I move through the rooms like a guest, careful not to break the peace. One evening after dinner he surprised me. We were sitting at the table, the plates still warm, when he said, "Emily, I've been thinking, maybe it's time we start a family." His voice was gentle, almost shy. He looked at me like he was offering a gift. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. I set it down slowly, trying to keep my face calm. "I don't think I'm ready," I said softly. He nodded, not angry, just quiet. But I could feel the air between us shift, as if the room knew something had changed. Later that night when he went to take a shower, I went to the study to put away some mail. That's when I saw it, the drawer of his desk slightly open. I don't know why I pulled it. Inside was a small box wrapped in gold paper with a white ribbon. My hands started shaking before I even touched it. I stood there staring at the gold-wrapped box. My first thought was that it might be a gift for me, maybe an anniversary surprise or just one of Mark's sweet gestures. But when I lifted it, I saw the small white tag tucked under the ribbon. It didn't have my name on it. It only said in his neat handwriting for our first family photo. I froze. My fingers went cold. I set the box down like it might break in my hands. My mind went to the conversation at dinner, the way he had said start a family with so much quiet hope. He had been thinking about this for a long time, planning for it. I leaned back against the desk and closed my eyes. And that's when it happened. The past came rushing in like water through a broken door. It was the smell that triggered it first. A faint trace of the cologne Mark sometimes wore. Not the one I bought him, but the one he'd chosen himself. It wasn't his scent I remembered. It was his, the man before Mark. The man I thought I would marry. His name was Daniel. I met him when I was 23, working part-time at a bookstore while finishing my degree. He had this easy laugh and eyes that seemed to notice everything about me. The way I tucked my hair behind my ear, the way I hummed when I was nervous. Being with him felt like living in a song I never wanted to end. We stayed together for almost 3 years. He talked about building a life, about traveling, about someday having a little house with a red door. I believed every word. Until the night I found out he had been seeing someone else. She was a coworker. It had been going on for months. I remember sitting in my car after I left his apartment, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I cried until I couldn't breathe. That was the night something inside me shut down. I told myself love was dangerous, a risk I couldn't take again. When I met Mark a year later, he was different. Steady, kind, predictable in a way that felt safe. He didn't sweep me off my feet. He held me up when I was too tired to stand. I convinced myself that maybe love could be built brick by brick if the foundation was strong enough. But standing there in the study looking at that gold-wrapped box, I knew the truth I had been avoiding. You can't build love on top of an empty space. You can cover it with routines and politeness, but the hollow stays. I closed the drawer and walked back to the kitchen, my steps heavy. My phone was on the counter, screen glowing with a new notification. I almost ignored it until I saw the name. It was a text. From Daniel. After 4 years of silence. I stared at the screen for a long time, the glow lighting my hands. Daniel, I don't know if you'll even read this, but I'm sorry. That was all it said. No hi, no, how are you, just those 5 words that somehow felt heavier than the phone itself. My first instinct was to delete it. To pretend I never saw it. But my thumb hovered over the screen for too long. I locked my phone and slid it face down on the counter like that would bury the message along with the past. Then I went about my day as if nothing had happened. I made the bed. I folded laundry. I stirred a pot of soup for dinner. All the while, my mind kept drifting to that text, the way his name looked after all these years. Familiar, dangerous. When Mark came home that night, I met him at the door like always. He kissed my cheek, asked how my day was. I told him it was fine. We ate. We watched a show. I laughed at the right moments, asked him questions about work. I was playing my part, but inside I felt like I was standing in a dark hallway trying to keep the door to the past shut with both hands. A few days later, I met my friend Claire for coffee. She knows me better than most. We sat by the window watching people rush by with scarves and paper cups. After a while, she looked at me closely and said, "You've been quiet lately. Different." I shook my head. Just tired. She didn't believe me. "Emily, you can tell me. You don't have to live in a life that doesn't fit you. Pretending doesn't make it better. It just makes it heavier." I smiled weakly, stirred my coffee and changed the subject. But her words stayed with me, pressing on my chest like a weight I couldn't lift. That night after dinner, I went into the bedroom to read. Mark stayed in the living room, but at some point I heard footsteps in the hallway. Then a soft knock. I thought he was coming to ask about the laundry or the grocery list. But when I opened the door, he stood there, his face quiet and searching. "Who is he?" he asked. My heart stumbled. "What? Who's the man you've been thinking about?" His voice wasn't angry, it was tired, almost sad. "I heard you talking to Claire. I know there's someone." I felt the truth rising in my throat like water. My hands trembled on the doorknob. I wanted to lie to keep the fragile walls between us standing. But lies had built this life and I couldn't carry them anymore. She said I looked like someone carrying a love that wasn't mine, I whispered. She was right. We sat at the edge of the bed, the space between us wide and heavy. My fingers twisted in my lap as I searched for the right place to begin. I need to tell you something, I said softly. Mark didn't move. He just kept his eyes on me waiting. I've been dishonest, I continued. Not about where I've been or who I've seen, but about how I feel. From the very beginning. He swallowed, his jaw tightening for just a moment. Go on. I took a deep breath. When I married you, I thought love would come later. I thought if I stayed, if I tried hard enough, I could grow into it. You were safe. You were kind. I wanted that safety more than I wanted the truth. But the truth is, I never loved you the way you deserved. The words came out trembling, but once they were free, I couldn't take them back. Mark leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He didn't speak for a long time. The clock on the nightstand ticked, slow and steady, like it was measuring the silence. Finally he said, I already knew. My head lifted. You did. He nodded. I could feel it. You were here with me, but part of you was always somewhere else. I just hoped you'd come back. The quiet in the room shifted then. It wasn't sharp or angry. It was soft, but it ached in a way I can't describe. I'm sorry, I whispered. I know, he said. I don't hate you. I just wish you'd told me sooner. We didn't fight. There was no shouting, no slammed doors. Just two people sitting in the same room, both knowing it was over. I stood up and went to the closet. My hands were steady now as I took down a small suitcase. I folded my clothes in silence, hearing the soft zip of the bag, the creak of the floorboards beneath my feet. When I reached the doorway, I turned to look at him one last time. His eyes were calm but tired, the kind of tired that doesn't go away with sleep. As I stepped into the hallway, he called after me, his voice quiet but clear. Thank you for not lying one last time. It has been 6 months since I left. I live now in a small apartment on the 3rd floor of a brick building in the city. The windows are tall, and in the evenings the golden light falls across the wooden floor in long warm stripes. It's not much, but it's mine. The first weeks were hard. I would wake in the middle of the night reaching for the other side of the bed, forgetting it was empty. I learned how to make coffee for one, how to eat dinner without the hum of another person in the room. The quiet felt sharp at first, like it was cutting me open. But slowly it began to feel like space I could breathe in. Most mornings I walk to a little park 2 blocks away. I sit on the same bench, sip my coffee and watch strangers pass by. I've started writing again. Small pieces at first, just thoughts in a notebook, then longer ones that surprise me. My handwriting looks shaky, but my words feel clearer than they have in years. One rainy afternoon, while unpacking the last of my boxes, I found something I didn't expect. It was tucked inside a folded sweater I hadn't worn since winter. A small envelope with my name written in Mark's handwriting. I sat on the couch and opened it carefully. Inside was a short letter. Emily, I hope you find the kind of love you were looking for. I hope it's real and I hope it's kind. Don't be afraid to live fully, even if it means without me. You deserve to feel alive. There was no anger in his words. No blame. Just a quiet wish for me to find what I had been missing. I pressed the letter to my chest, my eyes stinging. That night, I lit a candle by the window and sat in the glow. I thought about all the choices that had brought me here. The safe ones, the hard ones, the ones I made out of fear. Marrying without love had been like walking through life with my heart asleep. Leaving was the moment I let it wake up. If you've ever chosen safety over love, I know how heavy it feels. You are not alone. Tell me your story.